Greetings. Welcome to Discipline and Desire, the podcast, episode 4, Shadow Work. Yeah, we're going to go there this evening, or today, or whenever you choose to listen to this. The theme, integration, healing, and the courage to see what's hidden. I'm your host, Laurion-Asahn. Some of y'all know me by Law or Lawrence Sturdivant. It's a pleasure. I appreciate your time. As we started last week's episode 3, Embracing the Obsidian Pill, I want your full attention. I also want to be fully present with you. So in order for us to land there together, let's do some breath work. We're going to inhale for 4 seconds. We're going to then hold for 4 seconds. And then we're going to exhale for 6. We're going to do 4 passes of this. Ready? Hey, let's go. Let's breathe in for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Now let's do the next 2 on your own. Presence is a gift. If you're wondering, yes, that is a sound bowl in the background. I got this amazing bowl for a birthday gift. Thank you. And it was from Boston Vibrations. Boston's like my next home, 3rd home, maybe 4th. But yeah, Boston Vibrations, hit them up on social media. Boston Vibrations have some amazing bowls. And I really do enjoy the sound of this one. All right, let's get into it. Today, we're diving deep into shadow work, what it is, why it matters, and how it shaped my healing journey. I also provided via podcast and on social media a PDF that you can fill in that can help you with this episode and with your healing and your progression. You can think of it as a worksheet. Before we jump into episode 4, Shadow Work, I do want to highlight our previous episodes. Episode 3, one of my favorites, Embracing the Obsidian Pill. We discussed truth and transformation. And then the episode before that, episode 2, Blessed Hands. I actually did that episode in the salon while I was getting my hair retwisted. And we discussed connection and artistry and healing. Definitely check those out. You can find them here, or you can find them on YouTube or on any of my social media platforms. But today's focus, we're going to again focus on shadow work. Please note, we cannot transform what we refuse to acknowledge. If we cannot name it, we cannot heal it. Does that make sense? Again, we cannot transform what we refuse to acknowledge. If we cannot name it, we cannot heal it. And this brings us into the conversation of shadow work. If many folks have ever found themselves in the sun, playing with your shadow, dancing with your shadow, You'll notice that your shadow sometimes, depending on where the sun is shining and where you are standing, your shadow may be behind you, aside of you, etc. If it is behind you and you're not looking down, are you able to see your shadow? Are you able to be aware that it exists? The same thing applies. The shadow, as we're going to discuss, is not something that's bad. It is something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be acknowledged in order for it to be. And if it is something that is bringing highlights to what needs to be adjusted, tweaked, or healed within ourselves, if we cannot name it and or identify it, it will always be what it is until it isn't. Last week's episode, I introduced a couple philosophies. One of them was by Carl Jung. I want to bring him up again because Carl Jung's philosophy on the shadow really helped me with my book, my memoir. It also helped me with my transformation and my understanding of what the shadow actually is. According to Carl Jung, the shadow represents the unseen parts of ourselves, which includes our desires, our fears, traits we reject or suppress. Jung's famous line, quote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate," end quote. In simpler terms, the shadow is what we cannot see in our blind spots, but it's always influencing our behavior, our relationships, and decisions. For any of you drivers, you're fully aware of your blind spots. Your blind spots cannot be seen typically by your rear view mirrors or your side mirrors. You may have to turn your body at an angle in which you can see then the spot that is blind to you by those other means of vision. The shadow is the same way. It is there. And if we ignore it too late, just like in driving, accidente. Copy? Let's define shadow work. At its core concept, shadow work is the practice of identifying, naming, and integrating hidden parts of ourselves. The process of self-awareness that helps us remove shame and builds wholeness. I love that concept. It's a process of self-awareness that removes shame and builds wholeness. Again, we cannot run, hide from our shadow, for it is part of us. And if we are denying it, if we are shaming it, just think what that does to us internally. Think what that does to us physically, spiritually, and in any other ways you want to consider. Again, if we cannot name it, we cannot heal it. Now, why does it matter, as we were just discussing, in hiding or ignoring our shadow? Well, if we continue to ignore our shadow, it can cause repeating destructive patterns. Let me repeat that. It can cause repeating destructive patterns. How many of us have sabotaged relationships that we've been in? How many of us are willing to admit that that's what we did? Are we able to catch it in midstream? Are we able to realize, oh, I'm doing it again? That's the shadow work. Identifying those destructive patterns, but then doing the work and adjusting so that those patterns no longer continue. Why it matters? If we ignore our shadow, we can also project our pain onto other people. We see that often. Projection happens often, especially in this modern day. Why does it matter? Ignoring our shadow can also cause missed opportunities for growth and healing. It's like driving with a massive blind spot. Again, you don't know what you're about to crash into until it's too late. And if you're in a relationship, it doesn't just affect you. And if you're in a relationship with children, you know where I'm going with this. Now, it is very important that we give ourselves grace during this process, this shadow work process. I need to emphasize this point. Shadow work is not about self-punishment. It's about compassionate accountability. I repeat, shadow work is not about self-punishment. It is about compassionate accountability. Give me a moment while I drink my ginger tea. With lime. When we give ourselves grace in this space, we're able to see our flaws without judgment. It also allows us to make space for mistakes and learning. You don't know what you don't know, especially if it's behind you and you can't see it. It also allows us to accept that growth is non-linear. That I want to repeat. When we show compassionate accountability, it helps us accept that growth is non-linear. School teaches us that you start something, you finish, or that there's a hierarchy, up or down. Sometimes when we think of the idea of growth and healing, we think that it's supposed to look like everyone else's, like it's a race or like it's a 1 to 10 or A to Z, like there's a formula or a pattern that is just linear. Growth and healing is not linear. It's your journey. When you are ready, when you are able, when you are accountable. Allow yourself grace. The shadow reveals what has been hidden, but grace allows us to integrate it. Now, what about shadow work in relationships? We already discussed how if shadow work is not done, how it can impact a relationship. For those who know me, know aside from my memoir, The Divorcee, and my keynote speech, Desire and Discipline, I speak on being a mirror to others. It's a gift that I've been given, in some ways inherited, and it allows me to experience much. But I've realized from my marriage and beyond, I guess I can even say I realized from my twin, my first mirror, the importance of reflection. Imagine in a world where mirrors didn't exist. I think that part would land more, that every individual that you came in contact with was a mirror. Back in the day, some of us can recall mimes that you would just jump out, cartoons or on television, and they just would imitate the person that was in front of them as if they were a mirror. One of my favorite exercises for consultation and coaching is one that I got from my acting classes, is mirror work. Like truly just repeating facial expressions, body language, etc. from the person in front of you. Well, relationships are very similar. For our partners reflect back aspects of ourselves that we cannot see. Relationships create opportunities to heal. For love exposes hidden wounds. And vulnerability opens pathways for growth. Now, there is a few things that we need to highlight here. One, it's important to be open and honest in this space. The importance of transparency with the partner when doing shadow work may bring up difficult truths. Some that you may not have even understood. So imagine if you can understand it. If your relationship may be a little rocky, entering into this space can create what it can create. But it doesn't have to be a horrible outcome, especially if you are a team and you are prepared as entering and doing this work, and all that are involved are fully aware of the process. If one partner is doing shadow work but the other is unaware or fearful, yes, it can create conflict. However, healing as a team creates safety and shared understanding of the process. We hear it often, choose your mate wisely. Well, if you were going somewhere that required you to dress up, you have on your nice dress or your new suit, you want to give yourself that last check to make sure before you exit your house, to make sure you look the way you want to look. Imagine if that last check was with a mirror that was crooked, or a mirror that was dusty, or a mirror that had something on it to where your image of self was not clear. Can you fully and clearly, pun intended, see yourself before you leave? Can you see what perhaps needs to be adjusted with that type of mirror? The same applies with our mates. Now, sometimes if our mates is the clearest mirror that we've ever experienced, although it's in a loving environment, that reflection can scare us. That reflection can trigger our ego. That reflection can trigger many things, including fear. However, in that honesty, and that understanding that this is part of the process to be healed, see yourself. Don't run from your image. Allow yourself to fully see what it is that you need to see. And then allow your partner, your mate, your spouse, whatever you want to call them, your mirror, to also be a part of your healing. Allow their love to heal you, to assist in your healing. In order to do so, we cannot operate in fear. But if we do have a team, we face it together, and we expand what's possible for our relationship. Because if you win, your partner wins, and vice versa. Now, my journey and why shadow work was so important. Divorce and beyond. Shadow work was essential during and after my divorce. For my shadow pushed me inward instead of outward. In full transparency, my shadow initially pushed me away from eating meat. I went vegan for 2 years. My shadow pushed me away from drinking alcohol. I abstained for alcohol also for 2 years. My shadow encouraged me to be very mindful of the company that I kept, so that I can truly identify who was on my side, who was on my team, versus who was not. My shadow forced me to face myself rather than avoiding my healing. And to keep it even a buck more, I didn't realize that I needed healing. I thought that getting a divorce was going to be the healing. Oh, how I was mistaken. But it worked. But I also had to be vulnerable. For my shadow revealed judgments that I once held about other men, my father included. If I may go there, my father and many other men had reputations. I heard those reputations from the women in my family. I never allowed myself to listen to their side of the story, my father and the men in my family. I just listened to the women that told me how not to be. And I judged them. Now, after my divorce, during my marriage, Once I had children, and after my divorce, I recognized that I am my father, and I am also those other men that I judged. For we have the same urges, same desires, and the same needs exist within me. So me judging them, thus suppressing these urges, desires, and needs, created unacknowledged behaviors and experiences that I could have avoided. But that's how my journey went. And that's why I'm sharing this now, which is also why I was motivated to write my memoir. Because if others can avoid some of the pitfalls that I made, some of the choices that I made, I would love that for you. However, I'm very grateful, please understand, for my lessons. It wasn't easy for me to see my shadow, but I'm grateful, for my shadow didn't come to destroy me, it came to wake me up. And in knowing me, my shadow knew that it was the only thing that can get me to where I needed to go. And it also had to be the right time for me. Shadow work is powerful and very transformative. But I have a warning about doing shadow work alone. Solo shadow work is possible. Understand that. It is recommended in some cases. Solitude is very important. Removing distractions is very important. But the ego often steps in to protect the shadow, making it hard to be fully honest with what you are seeing. Having a therapist, mentor, or supportive community helps us see clearly and stay accountable for ourselves. Going back to the ego craves control. And sometimes that control keeps us from truly seeing what needs to be healed. It's kind of like it enables it, but it thinks it's protecting it. Again, and if it's enabling it, if it's protecting it, hiding it, shielding it, you can't fully see what needs to be healed. And if you can't see it, and if you can't name it, you know the rest. So here's some practical advice. Start small. Journal. Create some prompts for yourself, such as, what triggers me most? What do I judge most in others? Then start noticing reoccurring conflicts. Are they with the same persons? Are they with a specific gender, age? Then practice naming these conflicts and these judgments without self-criticism. This is again identifying your shadow, being honest with exactly what you see, not self-criticizing what you see. And then seek support. Therapy, group discussions, spiritual practices like breathwork or meditation, all of the above. If you have support, take support. One can go far by oneself, but one can do so much more with others. And too often when doing, again, our shadow work, we feel that we have to do this all by ourselves. It's doable, but if you have a team, utilize your team. To wrap up, let's recap some of the themes and some of the things that we discussed. 1, the shadow is what we cannot see. 2, if we cannot name it, we cannot heal it. 3, grace is essential in the process. 4, relationships can be a sacred space for shadow work. 5, support matters. Don't walk this path completely alone. As we think of a reflection to this podcast, in closing, the shadow doesn't exist to harm us. It's a guide, a teacher, and sometimes a mirror. It's the part of us asking to be seen, heard, and integrated. So, call to action. I invite you listeners to reflect on one shadow aspect this week. I invite listeners to share their experiences with a trusted person or journal about it. I'm a fan of journaling. And my other call to action for you listeners, subscribe to Discipline and Desire podcast and join the conversation. I plan on having a couple more guests to discuss their journeys. We're definitely going to discuss shadow work throughout this season and perhaps next season. Shadow work is highlighted with a couple of mantras and job aids within my memoir. Again, that's coming out in Q4. And yeah, don't forget the worksheet that will be attached to this podcast that you can use for yourself. So in closing, don't run from your shadow, but understand that the work needs to be done so that healing can progress and integration can be. Till the next time, I am your host again, Laurion-Asahn, Lost or Devant. This is Discipline and Desire, Episode 4, Shadow Work. As a bonus, I'm going to share some bonus material from my upcoming memoir. This bonus material will not be available via the hard copy or the ebook, but I am going to make it available via my podcast, my website, and my social media platforms. So this is titled Dirty Diana. The moment the mirror turned seductive and the king stayed seated on his throne. Section 1, The Scent of a Turning Point. The night was thick with heat, still but speaking. The kind of air that doesn't just wrap around you, it pulls at you. I could smell the trees, the salt of the earth, and something deeper, her anticipation. She was already there, blanket spread, posture quiet, but her body was screaming for me. I didn't rush. I wasn't there to chase. I arrived to confirm. She looked up as I approached, and something in her shifted. She didn't smile like a woman waiting. She softened like a woman already owned. Not by force, not by promise, but by the presence I brought with me. From the first glance, the dance began. She reached for me without reaching. Her words were light, but her hands said everything. She kept touching my arm, my chest, my face. At one point, her hand found my thumb, and the way she stroked it made me inhale slowly. She wasn't asking for attention. She was offering herself in parts, wondering if I'd notice the invitation. I noticed. But I didn't lunge. I didn't devour. I held it all. The tension, the electricity, the ache I could feel rising in both of us. I kissed her. She bit my lip. Not to tease me, but to test if I'd let go of the throne and fall into her. I didn't. She curled into me like a girl with secrets, but a woman with fire. Her head on my chest, her hands tracing me like she'd studied the curves of kings. I asked if she felt safe. She said yes, and kissed me harder. Every moment was laced with permission, with passion, but also with precision. This wasn't about conquering. It was about choosing not to. Even when I wanted to take her, right there under the awning over the railing, wrapped in night, I stayed seated. Not because I didn't want her, because I already had her. I didn't need to take what was already surrendered. I didn't need to claim what was already reaching for me. I let her orbit me, and in that orbit, she began to fall. Section 2. The blanket left behind. There's something about the moment after. After the kiss that lingered. After the breath we shared but didn't finish. After the fire we both chase. After the fire we both chose not to feed with flame. We left the awning with flushed skin and unsaid truths. Her hand found mine. She pressed her palm to it like she was memorizing the weight. We walked in silence, every step buzzing with the thing we didn't do. I invited her back to my place. She hesitated, asked, "Para qué?" "Para seguir bailando," I said, "to keep dancing." She smiled, unsure but curious. Her body said yes, but her past pulled gently at the reins. So I offered something better, a view. We drove to higher ground, walked again. The silence was thicker now, not from absence, but from presence. I kissed her again, harder this time. Pressed her to the railing. Her lips begged while her mouth said nothing. I could have taken her, right then. She would have let me, but I didn't. On the way back to my car, she stopped suddenly. "No tengo mi chaves." We retraced our steps, bench, grass, hilltop, nothing. Then she remembered the parking lot where she first waited for me. We returned and there they were, her keys resting exactly where she had hoped they'd be. As she climbed back into my car, the energy had changed again. She turned to me, not tired, not withdrawn, but ready. "Let's go," she said, meaning, "Let's go to your place." And I looked at her, this beautiful, warm, sensual woman, and I said, "No, not tonight." Not because I didn't want her, but because I'm not just a man moved by heat. I'm a king who holds the gate. And if she's going to enter my palace, she must first feel the gravity of what it means to walk through that door. This can't be rushed. What I build isn't casual. I don't lead with flesh. I lead with frequency. Sex cannot come with confusion. It cannot arrive with sharp edges of past men still clinging to her ribs. There will be no shrapnel in my kingdom. No begging to be seen. No masked surrender. She left the blanket in my front seat. I noticed it, so did she. "La recoja mañana," she said. Not a delay, a vow. She texted me 15 minutes later, "Buenos noches." And I sat there in stillness knowing she's not just coming back for her blanket. She's returning to the space that didn't consume her, but transformed her. Section 3. the soft territory of wanting. I felt her long after she was gone. Not in the ache between my legs, not in the weight of what didn't happen, but in the calm that came from knowing I moved like a man who chose himself. Still, there was something soft pressing against my edges. A memory, a scent, a glance she gave me as I opened her door. A kiss she leaned into like she'd waited a lifetime to feel seen. It wasn't just chemistry. It wasn't just her lips or how she bit mine like it belonged to her. It was something deeper, something in how she adjusted to my rhythm. She didn't talk over me. She didn't pull. She didn't chase. She just responded. And that's when I felt it. This woman is not mine because she obeyed a command. She is mine because I never had to give one. She read the field, felt the standard, and stepped toward it, not to be accepted, but because it mirrored something she already knew was inside her. She wanted to be held, but not possessed, to be devoured, but not disrespected, to be loved in the way only a man with uncompromising integrity can love. That's the soft territory of wanting. It's not loud. It doesn't beg. It doesn't require permission. It simply pulls. I felt her pull today. At the gym, and the way her eyes never strayed too far. The way she shifted when men came near. The way her body leaned against mine when we embraced and her hand slid, slow, intentional, across my chest. Her mouth kissed my cheek like she already knew which lips she was really after. She's still vibrating from what I didn't give her. And I'm vibrating from the man I chose to be when she asked for more. This is no longer about if she'll return. This is about whether she's ready to meet the man who sat still while her entire being begged for movement. Section 4, Entry Requirements. To be continued.